ProVideoPlayer 2 makes it easy to set up advanced layouts with features like corner pinning, masking, and multi-screen mapping. So let's take a look. All of these features can be accessed via the layout editor, which you can find either in the layers palette by hitting edit or by going to view layout editor. The first thing we'll talk about is corner pinning. Not always can you get your projectors perfectly aligned with the surface you're projecting on, and sometimes keystoning just doesn't do the trick, and that's when you can use corner pinning. So all we need to do is select a screen, enable corner pinning, and then we can move around these corners to get the perfect projection on our surface. And we can get this pixel perfect by selecting a corner and then going down and adjusting the X and Y coordinates. Next, let's talk about masking. There's two different types of masks available, an overlay and a keyhole mask. An overlay mask allows you to overlay black across your image so that you don't see that part of what's being shown. Whereas a keyhole mask, whatever your mask is what is being shown. So let's see this in action. I'm going to close this out and then I'm going to play back some content. Then we can go in here and draw our first mask. I'll take the rectangle tool and just draw this out, and you'll see that we have a rectangular overlaid and blocking out that portion of what's being shown. But I can change this to a keyhole mask, and you can see that it shows just what's inside of our mask area, and we can feather this selection if we want and give it a little bit of a feathered edge to it. We can also delete that and use some of our other tools here. We have an ellipse tool, so we can draw a nice ellipse mask and do a circular keyhole or overlay. And finally, we have a Bezier pen tool that we can draw either straight lines or Bezier handles and do nice curves and create a mask there as well. And again, any of these can be set to overlay or keyhole masks. The other option we have is to use an image as a mask. As long as our image has transparency, we can use it as a mask. So I'm going to open up a Finder window here and just bring in a mask. And you'll see that I've drawn in Photoshop this red rectangle and circle. Now this can be any color, but as long as it has transparency, it will work. So we can play back our content and you'll see that it's working as an overlay mask, but we can switch it to a keyhole mask. And it makes it so you can go in Photoshop and you can draw out the perfect mask, maybe on top of an image of your space, so you can get everything just perfect. The other thing that we can do here is we can actually bring in another mask that has transparency, a fade to it, a gradient to it. So right now you can see that this red gradient is here and it's showing that kind of gradient look to it, but we can do a keyhole as well, so it's fading in or out that image, and we can do that when we're drawing in those masks. So you can do subtle faded edges in portions, or you can do hard lines. So now let's create more of an advanced layout. Now I actually have a photo of the space that we're going to mimic here. You can take a photo of your space and you can see we have 3 screens here. You can see kind of a piano down here in the shadows and some speakers, and this is what we're going to recreate. So we can actually import this and set it as a background in here, and then we can lay out our displays on top of it. So I'm going to go down to Finder. I'm going to grab this image and drop it in here. Now we can scale this guy up so we can see it a little easier. And you can see we have those 3 displays. So now we need to add a few more displays, which is really easy. All we do is hit the plus icon, and we can either add attached displays or we can do custom outputs that we can attach later. So I'm going to do some custom outputs, and we can add that in, and we'll add in one more. And again, we can attach these displays later at any time. So now that we have our 3 displays, we can go ahead and start moving these around and placing them just as our screens are set up in physical space. So I can go in here and I can stretch this guy out and show that it's the left screen here. We can put this guy over on this side and show that it's the right screen. And then we can go in and do this center one. However, the center screen is actually rotated 90 degrees. It's sitting sideways projecting. So I don't want to just stretch it like this. I actually want to rotate this display. And we can easily rotate this by entering any degree, and it will rotate that. And we know that this is 90 degrees, so we can turn this on its side just like our projector is. And now we can scale this out so that it matches up exactly with how our screen is being shown on the stage. So now we have our layout done, and we could go in and start assigning layers. But there's one other way we can do this. So I'm going to delete these displays, and we have our main custom output here. Now we can actually divide this output into 3 different segments. This is perfect for when you have something like a triple head to go attached and you have a very wide image that you want to split into 3 different displays, just like it is in real life. So we're going to say that this is a 3840 by 720 projection, so that's our triple head screen. Then I can right click on it and say divide screen. And it's going to ask us how many rows and columns do we want to divide this into, and we're going to say, well, we have 3 displays, so we're going to have 1 row with 3 columns and hit OK. It's now split this up into 3 displays. And each one of those is a 1280 by 720 screen. And you can see over here when I click, it shows what part of the image that's going to be. So now we can go in here and again align these with our image. So I'll take that and put that there, put our third one over on the side over here, and we'll take our center one, we'll rotate it 90 degrees, and we can have this represent our center image. And we can, get this aligned perfectly with this. So now let's look at our layers. So in here you'll see we have 1 layer with 2 different targets. We need to add 1 more target in here, and then we can place all of these targets appropriately. So we're going to say target 1 is on our left screen. We can get that aligned there. Target 2, we don't actually want to rotate this target. We want it to place straight up and down, so we can put that there. And then target 3 we can place right over here on this side screen. And then let's actually go in and add 1 more layer and have a target span across to all of these 3 different displays. So now let's look at how this plays back. So with our default layer selected, we can play back our content, and you can see that it's playing it back across to all of these screens individually and tiling and scaling. But if we go to layer 2 and play back some content, you can see that it's spanning throughout these 3 different displays. So that's how you can utilize corner pinning, masking, and multi-screen mapping to set up the perfect show.